Half-time is sponsored by AT&T. And welcome back to Salt Lake City. Derek Ray and Ali Wagner. 0-0, the United States and China in this international friendly. The story so far, Ali, frustration for the USA.
Yeah, they've struggled to break down this low block of China. You can see China filters back, gets players behind. The U.S. really running out of ideas when they're attacking centrally, and they haven't had great shape to break them down. This is one instance where they find Dunn in open space. That's where one of the areas they've had success is down the flank with Crystal Dunn in particular. I mean, she takes 3 players on, but it closes down her own gap. Alex Morgan can only make that near post run, and there's really not a cutback ball to be had for the U.S. in that moment. China didn't pose many challenges for the U.S. except this one, and that's when Pong gets free and tries to open up. I mean, she has a savviness to cut it back and has a Listenair, but Listenair gets to ground quick and makes a big save in that counterattack. And then the U.S. created a few moments off of corners being whipped in. That one falls at the feet of Zerboni. She can't connect on it well. And then it's Rapinoe. She's been one of the bright spots as well for the U.S. She says, oh, I'll beat you once, and by the way, I'll beat you twice. Alex Morgan at that near post again, just hunting it down.
Well, a lot more to talk about, and we'll hear from Katie Witham and Leslie Osborne after this next break, continuing along the road to France.
Civilization.
Yesterday, from Red Square in Moscow, they debuted the mascot for the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup. You can see her running around right there. That is Eddie. She will be in France next year. So will we. All of your coverage live on FS1. Welcome back to the Halftime Show presented by AT&T. I'm Katie Witham alongside Leslie Osborne. We are scoreless after 45 minutes of action between the defending World Cup champion, the United States, and China. Leslie, 8 nations have already qualified for next year's World Cup in France. More than half of those teams the U.S. will face on their schedule. Take me through what it's like as a player. What are these next 12 months like?
Well, as a player, you're so extremely excited to reach that dream of making a World Cup team, but you have to stay present. You have to look at this team collectively and take each friendly and each tournament as a measurement stick to see where this team is at. The Tournament of Nations is an opportunity, a home soil tournament, playing against 3 of the top 10 teams in the world. That will give the U.S. a good chance to see what they need to do. But as a player, you want to stay healthy, and with all the injuries coming in and out of this team, you have to be ready. And it's also working on the chemistry of this team, and when players do come back in, that it does go well. So as a player, you're so excited, but you have to stay present and qualify, and so it's really all about October.
Well, and it is all about October. You saw on the schedule there the Women's World Cup qualifying CONCACAF, October 4th through the 17th. The road to France goes through that. Stick around, much more to come from Rio Tinto after this.
Here's to Pizza Hut. Here's to $7.99 large 2-topping pizzas. And to our delivery captains, double-checking your order before it hits the road so you get exactly what you want. Here's to all the ways no one out-pizzas the Hut.
In life, you either feed on Jack Link's jerky, a protein snack made with 100% beef, and you run with Sasquatch, or you run from Sasquatch.
Half-time is sponsored by AT&T. And the score here is the USA 0, China 0, as the US continue to get ready for World Cup qualifying. A big announcement made this week in US soccer circles.
Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. Oh my God. I'm sorry, I meant to be here for the surprise. I'm so happy to be here because I have some wonderful news to tell you. You're a gift and you're a soccer legend in this country, and you deserve a place in this class for the 2018 National Soccer Hall of Fame, and I am so happy I get to present that to you.
Well, could there be anyone more deserving than Tiffany Milbrett, inducted into the National Soccer Hall of Fame? Ali, you played with her.
My question is, what took so long?
Yeah, what did take so long?
I mean, a big sigh of relief with her getting that. I mean, she was, in my opinion, the best front runner that I was able to play with. Her runs were so smart and nuanced, and I don't think she got the credit she ever deserved.
Substitution time in this game, by the way. A couple of new players for the USA in this half. Sofia Huerta and Samantha Mewis. Mewis back from injury. Interesting to see how she fares. In the second half run out, the North Carolina Courage player. Grew up on the south shore of Massachusetts. Just confirming a change for China as well. Wang Shanshan has gone off, with Yang Li taking her place. Expect quite a few more personnel changes along the way. That's how it goes in international friendlies. But this is the first of 2 games in 5 days between the USA and China. They'll lock horns again in Cleveland on Tuesday. Information that Sam Mewis is on.
And with Huerta coming on, McCaskill's off, Dunn's been popped up into that front line. Could provide more of an offensive spark than McCaskill was able to provide in that first half.
Yeah, Lindsay Horan, Savannah McCaskill no longer part of the equation for the USA. Lucila Venegas sounding the second half into action with China defending that goal away to our left. It's probably the best way to put it, because they were predominantly in defensive mode, did occasionally carry a threat. There's not enough imagination from the US, who dominated in possession terms. And it's still Davidson at left back with Sauerbrunn in the middle of the defence alley. Dahlkemper didn't quite go to plan. Katie Witham had a chance to catch up with Jill Ellis during the break. Katie?
The head coach was very honest coming out of the locker room, Derek, here at the half. She told me the collective effort defensively was just not good enough. Her message was we have to be more proactive and defensive-minded. We have to commit to our regains out there. But offensively, she said we have to continue to move the ball, take more risks in passing. Also, make sure we have wide options and depth, but timing is everything in terms of that final pass and getting on the end of one.
So both sides of the ball were subpar, basically. And I think fair statement. I mean, this is a U.S. squad that should be dynamic in their attack. We know they always pride themselves on their defensive high pressure. But China is very good at solving pressure. They're technical. They can play out of tight spaces. So that may be something to keep an eye on if the U.S. does ratchet it up. Does that change anything in terms of where the U.S. regains it?
Davidson's pass, chase back there. Dahlkemper, Huerta over there on the right for the US. 4 previous matches for the USA here at Rio Tinto, 4 previous victories. Another game prior to the stadium being opened at Rice-Eccles Stadium. It was against Ireland. US on, Horan off. Lindsay Horan a spectator the rest of the way. Ertz did well. Keep the ball moving. Davidson for Rapinoe. Morgan waiting in the middle. Dunn in the thick of things too. Ertz. And Morgan not quite. So trying to take the game to China. Who did bring on Yang Li for Wang Shanshan.
An interesting, Derek, with Horan going off. It looks as though Sam Mewis is actually going into that 10 role where normally should be more of an 8. McCall sitting as a 6. Julie Ertz popping into the 8. More than likely to get some of those late runs out of midfield. She's so good at getting on the end of service.
The other Chinese change, Li Dangyang on for Liu Shanshan. Here's Wu. And a touch here for Li, the player we just referenced. Wasn't the most confident of touches. quite warmed up.
U.S. pressure will do that to you.
Well, that has been part of the build-up story for the US, trying to apply as much pressure as possible. Certainly what Jill Ellis has wanted to see tonight. And Lewis gets it again. Again overhit. Lewis in the squad after a knee injury. Member of the US under-17s, came second at the FIFA World Championship in 2008.
And really stormed onto the senior team when she came in as a sub. She was scoring every match in her first few caps, and then found herself playing in a deeper role. It'll be interesting to see how she does higher up on the pitch. You can see she's sitting in a nice pocket of space right now.
This is Lewis. Davidson was crying out for the ball to be played to her. Opted for the shorter pass to Sauerbrunn. And now Dahlkemper. Pressing this time from China in the person of Ren Guixin. Davidson. Ertz. All the organising in that deep midfield position. So Boney with the switch out to the right-hand side. Dunn continues her pursuit of the ball. It's away by Pug.
Huerta's touch didn't come up, but that was better from the U.S. getting it to that wide space with Dunn pulling off, and Huerta re-establishing that pressure in behind.
Sofia Huerta, the player who officially, through FIFA, changed her allegiance. Represented Mexico, was able to switch to the USA, was happy to do so. Up in Boise, Idaho. Davidson asking a lot of Tiona Davidson to get there. 5 minutes into the second half. And it remains 0-0 in this international friendly, the USA and China. China, who've already stamped their ticket for the World Cup. The USA hoping to do so in October. Interesting tournament setup. 2 groups of 4. The US will be playing their group matches in Cary, North Carolina. So Boney, and it does work its way towards Huerta. Morgan. The ball under control, but having to go back the way. Davidson composed on the ball. Rapinoe. Boney to bustle her way through. And maybe the Chinese counter-attack again. Wang Shuang. And that was cleverly done. She is there to gather Nea. Sufficient awareness. Knew that Li Ying was making that run. Now here's Rapinoe. Does she have the legs? Not quite. We spoke about the Tournament of Nations, which is coming up July and August. All the US matches here on FS1. Japan, Australia and Brazil. Pretty decent competition there, Ali.
Yeah, and teams that are going to play much differently from this Chinese team. Those are teams that'll try to boss the game and take it to the U.S. So that's why this match tonight, this series, is really important for the U.S. squad to try to figure it out.
Games to be played in Kansas City, East Hartford, Connecticut, Bridgeview, Illinois. It's all part of the process of getting ready for the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying tournament. USA would certainly be favourites going into that. Canada and Mexico will be forces to be reckoned with as well. Huerta and Dunn just strayed.
And I'm still left perplexed as to why the U.S. isn't rotating, committing more numbers forward against this Chinese team.
Well, it has been an exercise in patience for all concerned. I'm sure for Jill Ellis, I'm sure for the U.S. fans watching. Let's see if they can ratchet things up a notch or two. Zhang Rui controlling the ball there for China.
And we've seen it so many times with this U.S. team that maybe they're not playing with a certain amount of flow or effervescent that you'd want to see, but they get the result, they get goals. So they're very capable of winning in matches like this, the way they're going about it today. But I think for the U.S., as they continue to go forward, if they do in fact qualify when they get to the World Cup, is to be able to control a game like this and break the opponent down instead of just waiting for one little moment, one error by the opponent.
Here's an overlap. It's Lee Tanyang, the substitute. They're trying to stretch the USA defense, in particular serve run. Well, better from China, certainly.
That was one of the first times we've seen China get numbers forwards themselves. They had runners in the box on that service.
Wang Shuwang entrusted with the corner. The first. Taking it short to Zhang. Fed in there, but not to great effect by Ren Guixin. Going to watch with interest to see what China do between now and the Women's World Cup, because having spoken to Jia, the coach, gave indications that he does want to alter the personnel, feels they need to be younger. It's a pretty young side we saw from China at the last World Cup. Done. China in build-up mode again, but just like that, they've given it away. And scope for Crystal Dunn. So make the run. The free kick has been given in her favour. Lucila Venegas right up with play.
Dunn's been so positive tonight, Derek, in her play. First as an outside back and now moving to that front line. She's one of the players with impetus to take on tonight and go at these defenders.
You think she's happier playing in that higher position, Ali, as opposed to...
Absolutely. But she also just wants one role and to stick with it and to master.
But you might not get that with this US side. Here's Rapinoe. Oh, useful one, and there is the breakthrough. Alex Morgan, who else? To the delight of the fans here in Salt Lake City, the opener for the USA. The wait is over. Morgan's goal.
And yes, it's Morgan's goal, but it's about this service as well. Rapinoe just bends it in behind. Alex Morgan beats her player. I mean, she's hovering all over her from the backside, and Rapinoe whips it and dips it down. Pong is glued to her line, doesn't come off, hoping her defender makes a play, and rifles that one by.
And goal number 86 in international terms for Alex Morgan. China finally come unstuck. Well, let's see what sort of approach that elicits from the Chinese now. 0-0 has suited them, suited their style of play. Will they open up a bit more?
And this all came off of a Dunn foul. Rapinoe steps up to it, set piece artist she is, and then Alex Morgan reads it, times it well. Quality finish as well.
Doubles in the two matches against Mexico for Alex Morgan. Now on target here against China. See if that allows the USA to, if you like, exhale and play their football.
Perhaps get an injection of pace into the match. As methodical as it's been by the U.S., After goals, they usually go a little up-tempo more, and that suits their style.
Lin. Having to cover up with Zhang Rei in front of the defense for China. Davidson. Sauerbrunn. This is Dahlkemper. Intelligent use of the ball. Awareness by Huerta over there. And do they have another one in the future? Well, it's Rapinoe, and she's blazed it over. Starting to flow now, though.
Huerta's been really eager on that far flank, getting high. Here she takes her player on, slips it through, makes her, gets her head up to play that slot ball back. Dunn gets the first look at it, doesn't connect, and then the depth that runs by Megan Rapinoe to follow up and get a look. That's brighter by the U.S. In that play, they had 5 players on the back line of China. That's really difficult to absorb for a back line of 4.
Very clever work by Huerta. Confident player. 25-year-old of the Chicago Red Stars. It's in there by Lewis. Here's Rapinoe. Succeeded in keeping it in. She goes to work again here, Megan Rapinoe. Morgan used to have such a wonderful understanding. Hanging ball there, and Dunn. Well, it seemed to take an eternity to come down, and Dunn almost capitalised.
Pretty awkward play by the U.S. Alex Morgan tries to get around it, doesn't connect well, and this one drops in. Pong unsure as she's coming off that line.
And it was by Ertz for the USA. She has it again here, Julie Ertz, under a bit of pressure from Li Ying. Now Rapinoe. Room to roam for Rapinoe. And it comes to Yang Li. Came on at the start of the second half for China. Huerta. Any fuss at all? Zaboni. We get to that deeper position, Alex Morgan, to help out on the build up front. Sauerbrunn directing it to Davidson. Rapinoe. She was being very closely watched by Zhang Rei.
And you wonder if Wang Shuang of China is being closely watched by any of these NWSL coaches. She's having herself a nice match today.
Megan Rapinoe continues to dazzle for the US. More on Megan Rapinoe from Katie Witham.
Well, Derek, Ali, she's been in quite the form of run lately. When we asked her yesterday what she's most proud of, she talked about her consistency and her ability to be dangerous all the time. But she said where she's improved the most is in front of goal. She talked about playing higher both with club and with country and constantly thinking about how she can make the players around her better and also being in a good position where she can score more. She even said, hey, my goal, I try to score a goal every single game. I loved that.
Yeah, she's always a very interesting person to interview, to listen to. She's not short of an opinion either, which we like.
We love it. Want more of her? Let's get her on the set.
Yeah. She was the architect of the goal, the lone goal so far, scored by Alex Morgan for the USA. It's mistimed at that time, Sauerbrunn. She goes in again. It's losing out to Wang Shuang. Ertz. Zaboni for the US. It's gobbled up by China. It's low on the left. The referee, Lucila Venegas, intervenes. China China looking for a bit of rhythm in this second half.
And they seem more proactive in their approach in this second half, Derek.
Chang Rei. It was over everyone, including Yang Li. Goal kick it is. Certainly has forced a rethink from China. The goal conceded, the goal scored by Alex Morgan.
But I think they were starting to play on the front foot when the second half kicked off, not just because they did concede. China pushing more numbers forward.
Rapinoe. That ball. She knew it. Good to see 3 US players coming on. Next stoppage in play. Carly Lloyd, Kristen Press and Ali Long have all readied themselves for action. It continues for now. Mewis. Dahlkemper.
How many times have we seen that ball by Dahlkemper floating over to this side? She likes playing those diagonals. It suits Tiana Davidson. It suits Rapinoe well. Just hasn't connected with consistency tonight.
So here we are, the changes, and Carly Lloyd will come on for Megan Rapinoe. One high-profile player for another. Megan Rapinoe, perhaps the best of them in terms of the starters. Warm applause for Rapinoe and of course for Carly Lloyd, who now wears the armband.
From the shift, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out with Carly Lloyd coming on for Rapinoe, who had herself another fine night.
Dahlkemper has gone off. Kristen Press taking her place. Julie Ertz giving 65 minutes to the cause. Kristen Press making an appearance, as we said.
And the utility player, Crystal Dunn, shifts into back into the left back role. She's now played left back, and right wing in a matter of about 66 minutes.
Ali Long on the pitch too, immediately getting involved. Not afraid to put herself about on the pitch. As we approach the midway point of this second half.
So Carly does go into that 9 role at the spearhead of that front 3, with Alex Morgan now shifting off left.
Slowed down by Long for the USA. It's Davidson. Back the way goes Sauerbrunn. Reserve goalkeeper tonight, reserve to Alyssa Neyer, is Abby Smith of the Utah Royals. China's turn to go to the bench here. It's going to be Yan Xinxin, taking the place of Ren Gui-Xin. He operates in midfield. Yan Xinxin. Here's Wu. Back to Wu. Real leader at the back. Almost got themselves into trouble, and the pressure was on from Morgan. Sauerbrunn. And Crystal Dunn for the USA. He's being hassled by Yan, the fresh player for China. Sanea in her 28th international appearance. Here's Carly Lloyd. You saw what she was trying, and it very nearly came off for her. Support in the person of Kristen Press. She's been playing her football in Sweden. She's only just got off a plane a couple of days ago, perhaps why she didn't start this game tonight. Wasn't really considered for a starting role. Sweden assignment for now over. Back playing for Upperberg Göteborg. Been there before, a few years ago. And Carly Lloyd, she usually is on the pitch to make statements.
And with her playing in that 9 role, I think we saw in the second half Alex Morgan doing a nice job back to pressure and being an outlet for the U.S. to bounce play off of. Carly Lloyd can do the same, but probably one of the best players on this U.S. team to get on the end of service in the box. It'll be interesting to see if this is a role that she takes on for this U.S. squad as they head into qualifying, and then if they do in fact qualify into the World Cup. Where is she best for this team? Definitely higher up the pitch and close to goal.
Finally hit that magic 100 number against Mexico. To be careful there, Ali Long. Swarm of Chinese players around her. And that will certainly be a free kick. It's gone against Wu. She was actually sent off playing against the Philippines at the Asian Cup earlier this year. 3-0 win, but a red card anyway. Going to suspension. This is what happened here.
2 players closing in on Alex Morgan, and you can see from behind. Nasty challenge there by Wu.
Little pause here while treatment is administered to Morgan. Words of wisdom from Jill Ellis for Ali Long. Certainly not a bad record on the USA's part of this calendar year, just the draw against France and victories otherwise. Yellow card here for the combative Wu.
And those victories, Derek, come against top opponents in England, Germany. Germany, although probably not at their best, historically speaking. Canada, one of the up-and-coming teams in the world. U.S. got 2 results against them.
Some impressive results. They'll try it again here. England, of course, interesting phase with Phil Neville now the coach. Similar to what's happening with China, installing a high-profile figure from the men's game without any previous coaching experience on the women's front.
And I know there's a lot of talk about if that's the right thing for the women's game, but I say, hey, if it's the best coach, yeah, slot him in. And why think that a man can't coach a women's team if they've never done it, and vice versa? Why can't a woman coach a man's team? So they suit what you want to achieve, and they know how to bring a unit together. Why not give them that opportunity? And they've been struggling. I mean, they brought in Bruno Bini from France, the Icelandic coach, and so they went with the national and someone who does have experience.
He did actually play in Yugoslavia for a spell in the late 1980s. I asked him how that came about. He was with Partizan Belgrade, and he said it was part of a cultural exchange which saw table tennis players from the former Yugoslavia going to China to learn more about that sport, and then the opposite applied with soccer. And that's how he ended up at Partizan Belgrade. Said he thoroughly enjoyed it. It was rather unusual at the time to find Chinese footballers in Europe in the late 1980s. Ali Long. The throw-in is what it'll be. Just the one goal for the US. Courtesy of Alex Morgan. Can they add to that? Davidson. There's a fine pass. Let's see if they can use right-hand side to good effect again, but there's no handball certainly. It will be a corner. Huerta involved once more. Came off lead.
Because what the U.S. can be so effective at is playing those diagonal balls. Kristen Press gets on it, takes her player on, but opponents know that that's always an option, that they've got the pace to get in behind, that they do have center backs now with Davidson, and with when Dahlkemper was on, they can hit those long diagonal balls to open up the match. Should make things easier internally for the U.S.
Davidson with it, and that was certainly laced with a bit of menace. And Lloyd on the scene. Corner kick set up by Kristen Press just prior to that.
And with Rapinoe out, it is Davidson that steps up, looks like to take him from both sides. The left-footed young star, I mean, to be asked to take set pieces speaks a lot about her quality and confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. So Davidson from the left-hand side this time for the USA. Morgan did her best to get there. That's going to go out of play. But couldn't do anything about it. Inside the final quarter of an hour.
And it's good to see Huerta out there in an outside back position. She doesn't play there for club, but it's more than likely the role that she will play for the U.S. if she can make this squad.
So Naya distributing. Lloyd trapping it. She's looking a bit perplexed.
Calling offside.
She wondered exactly where she was positioned. And now there's going to be a big cheer because Amy Rodriguez will be coming on. Utah Royal and all. And Alex Morgan, smile on her face, having scored the goal, the breakthrough goal of this match. Amy Rodriguez, it's been a while. And so popular here, scoring against Portland, the first goal in Utah Royals history in the NWSL. So delighted to be back in the fold, Ali, after injury.
And she's been a player that has come in for Utah and been so important in the way they can play, because they haven't had anyone that's been able to stretch the back line and be dynamic up top. She's providing that, so getting her healthy was a massive bonus for this Utah Royals FC squad, excuse me. And now getting a look back with the U.S. team after being out with pregnancy and then ACL. It's been a long haul away from the game for her.
It's 2 full seasons. A-Rod, as she's affectionately known.
And Mama.
Well, let's see if she can play her part in the closing minutes here in Utah. Davidson. And here's Rodriguez. Done. Certainly heard the footsteps of Jan. Thundered forward by Naya. It's Lin who headed the ball away for China. Covering in front of the defence, Zhang. Li Ying trying to let Davidson know she was there. See if a hole will emerge in the Chinese defence. That's the case. Press was happy to take on the opportunity.
Perhaps her eyes were too big in that moment, because as she was laid in behind, in the U.S. they're having their success now with being more direct in their approach, not trying to go centrally. She had Amy Rodriguez far post flying in if she just laid that across early.
Chance for Kristen Press to join the 100 Caps Club in Cleveland on Tuesday. Played in 4 of the 7 matches for the USA at the Women's World Cup in 2015. Started 2 of them.
Went overseas to Sweden, Derek, just to kind of find her form again. That's where she found it initially and made her way onto this U.S. scene. Stagnant perhaps a little bit in her development, and going abroad seems to suit her well in that style of play.
Done. Lewis trying to make the connection with Lloyd. It's been a popular venue, this, hasn't it?
And a good crowd too.
Terrific. It's not really a bad viewing position here either. That's very close to the action. Stadium in the shadows of the Wasatch Mountain Range. Well, thumbs up it will be at the end of the game if the US can add to their advantage.
But at this point, I still think the U.S. have a lot to work on against systems as China is going about today.
Pass by Zhang Rei. Looking for Yang Li, that left-hand side. Sofia Huerta attending to her defensive duties, and Naya had to be careful with that, had to get rid of it. Almost just a little scare there for the USA. No damage done. For the direct approach that time, Alyssa Naya. Some US who stepped in. Wu for China. Carly Lloyd was close to her. Scraped away by Peng. The down was by Long. Ali Long again. Sauerbrunn. Was in there, that's gone all along the ground, lying in the vicinity.
That was such a good look by Huerta, and good movement by Kristen Press to pull off that back line. Huerta gets her head up, has time and space because of Press's movement, and then Carly Lloyd just slipping in between the center backs. Too much pace on it, but really good looking ball sliced in there.
Almost ghosting in, wasn't she, Carly Lloyd? Good idea by Sofia Huerta. Just wonder what the thought process of Jill Ellis will be now, Ali, going into the second game against China on Tuesday.
I would think continue the rotation of the players to spread out the minutes and share the workload. Perhaps Morgan Bryan gets some minutes. Her return from Lyon, that spell overseas ended. Perhaps Merritt Mathias gets a look as well.
Tobin Heath maybe, although not involved at all tonight. We shall see. China are going to make a couple of changes. I've got Peng ready, as well as Li Qingqing. Our Brun. Huerta.
And you can even see the discipline of the Chinese compact lines is waning as this match progresses. They are committing more numbers forward, not as determined to get back and resolute in that 4-5-1.
So here we go. The personnel switches. That's it for Wang Shuang. Replaced by Li Qingqing. Also coming on is Han. Departing the scene, Lo Jia Wei.
Substitution. Republic of China. Leading the match every 7. Long shot. Also leading the match every 25. No Jiang. Entering the match, 18, Han. Number 29, Li Qingqing.
Closing phase of this game. Dunn takes the throw. Rodriguez doesn't know where the goal is. Stay in play it does for Li Danyang. The US know they must concentrate to the maximum in these last few minutes. Don't want any accidents here. Done. Grinds to a halt. Offside flag has gone up, Ali.
Going to be massive for the U.S. to pick up a shutout. They've only had 3 in their last 10 matches, which is a surprise because this unit, this squad, is typically known for being tight defensively, hard to break down. But there have been some miscues along the way.
Would you describe this as a good learning experience for the US with the matches coming up?
I would absolutely say it was the right test for this squad. I don't know that a lot was figured out today with how they're going to break down the opponent. Became very direct in the second half, and yes, that's one way to get around the edge with pace. The U.S. will always look for that bread and butter, but you know, maybe when a Rose Lavelle comes back, when Mallory Pugh, internal combinations and interplay will become more of a factor and element, because when you face opponents that are as fast as you're not going to be able to just get around the outside at your will.
Well, the US know they've got to get players back in a hurry. Ying with that little touch for China. She's gone up into the penalty area. Not the only one in there either. The lead by Li Qingqing. 3 minutes to go.
But they are going after it when they have numbers, China that is. Had runners in the box on that service, well covered by the U.S. No pressure on the ball, allows that service to come in, and then Dunn just bodies off her player enough to disrupt the path to ball.
Going to take off, unfortunately, for Huerta. Just got a little bit sloppy, haven't they, in the last 2 or 3 minutes, the US?
And some changes coming in can always disrupt that flow.
It is one of the great meetings in women's football, the US and China, and the US dicing with a bit of danger, but it's offside against Li Qingqing. Almost crossed over the line in this match.
And sometimes it's a question of the chicken or the egg. Is the U.S. getting more sloppy because there is higher numbers by China pressing in a bit deeper? Or is it just the lack of cohesion by this squad that's out there right now? Makes complete sense for China to push in these last minutes, give their team a learning opportunity themselves.
Jia, their coach, is going to make one last change. So Yu coming on.
And to think this was his first spell with his squad, I'm incredibly impressed at how disciplined and organized they were.
Yeah, I think that's very fair comment, isn't it? Yep.
Yeah.
Limited time to work with these players. And Li Ying sees that her number is up. Did have that chance in the first half, couldn't take advantage of it. Fired the ball straight at Alyssa Naya.
That's such a fair point too, Derek, because the U.S. could have found themselves down 1-0 had she slotted that one home.
It's held by Naya. Approaching 90 minutes. Still, China believe they can damage the U.S. defence. So the player has just come on in the middle, but scope now maybe for the US to get players forward. Rodriguez. Going to have a minimum of 3 added minutes here. Rodriguez for the US. Nobody there to finish it off and press, and a corner in stoppage time here in Salt Lake City.
And you see she's got her head up. The run just isn't there. She tries to buy some time. Lloyd coming in a little bit late. I don't know that that's the right ball. Carly Lloyd maybe cut that one back, slotted into her path instead of out in front. Surprised Amy Rodriguez just didn't take on there with her pace. Turn and burn.
We get to see another Davidson corner. She's acquitted herself pretty well with the previous ones. Tiona Davidson, the 19-year-old. And well, it wasn't a bad corner at all. It's kept alive by the US. It's Mewis. There'll be another one exactly where the US would want the ball at this stage of the proceedings, Ali.
Yeah, and it's a friendly, so no reason to kill the match off, sitting up 1-0. A lot of these players vying for minutes, vying for a role in the qualification.
Well, the fans here in Salt Lake City would love it for the US to finish with a flourish. Davidson, Lewis, now press. Turned by Dunn. Through the legs of Zaboni. But did away by Wu. Which players in particular, Ali, would you single out for the US this evening?
Crystal Dunn is the first one that rolls off my tongue in terms of her impact, being dynamic. Obviously Megan Rapinoe, she's always bright and taking on, and with her set piece service. Thought Alex Morgan was more apparent in that second half.
He was one of the players you were referencing, Dunn. Rodriguez, another corner, concession of a corner by Lin.
I think with the center mids, Derek, with both halves, they're all very similar type players, and we just didn't see enough out of them attacking wise in terms of combining and getting forward and being an option underneath.
So Tiona Davidson, maybe for the last time in this game. The corner for the US, and oh, they couldn't quite finish off the chance. Well, it was Bang denying Lloyd.
And it's such a good ball by Davidson. She just keeps dropping these in. They're floating. Carly Lloyd times it perfectly well, rises up, knocks it down, but it's right at Pong.
We've had the 3 added minutes. Still look to get forward, the USA. Carly Lloyd putting in the challenge at the referee. says that will be all for this evening. It is a victory for the USA against China. Jill Ellis will have learned a lot about her players. As always is the case, Alex Morgan with the lone goal of record. Set up by Megan Rapinoe, that beautifully whipped in free kick. And Morgan did the rest. The two coaches, the handshake. Crystal Dunn certainly catching the eye in this game.
And how versatile is she? I mean, she played in 3 different roles and numerous times throughout the match. That is a huge asset for the U.S. going forward. Megan Rapinoe had another bright night, and she's going to continue with her form and confidence and be one of the leaders of this squad, even if she doesn't have that captain's armband on tonight. I think overall for the U.S., you can see how explosive they are. That's what we say about this team all the time. But they lacked a little bit of understanding and tactical nuances of how to break down a team that sits low, and they're going to have to continue to figure that out. And as they head into qualifying, where they're more than likely going to face it in multiple matches, especially in group stage.
All right, let's go downstairs to Katie Witham, who has with her Crystal Dunn.
Well, Crystal, you guys knew or thought that China may be a little defensive today. It seemed like they were hard to break through, but you finally did it. How were you guys able to do it?
You know, this game required a lot of patience. I think, you know, at some point we were a bit frustrated, feeling like we're just possessing and not really going anywhere. But, you know, eventually we got a good free kick. We know Pino is amazing, obviously, at her services. So sometimes it comes down to a set piece, and we practice all the time, and that's what's going to make the difference in some games.
You told me before the Mexico games that you take it as a compliment to play multiple positions. You played 3 different ones throughout this game, and you were effective in all 3. How did you do that?
You know, I stick to the basics. You know, soccer is soccer, and I feel like, yes, it's a bit different when you're playing in multiple positions, but for me, it's about where can I be to help my teammate out, and how can I make an impact.
What do you take from this one to help build upon before your next game against China?
Yeah, I think we definitely have some things that we could do a little bit better going into the next game, but that's the good thing about these friendlies is we have time to kind of work on it and perfect our game. So I think for us, it's, you know, keep the patience, but also let's penetrate a bit more.
Appreciate the time. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Crystal Dunn certainly playing in multiple positions in this match, Ali. Let's just retell the story of the game, and the US up against something of a Chinese wall in the first half.
Yeah, and they retreated often, the Chinese did, and the U.S. found it difficult to break down, but Crystal Dunn said she wanted more penetration. Well, she took it upon herself to do it. Here she's in a situation where she takes 2 on. Alex Morgan gets to that near post, but passed it, not able to redirect that on frame. But China, I mean, they sat back, and this was one of their brightest moments. Probably the best opportunity to this point in the match came from China. And right there, not able to get it past the Listenaire. U.S. was creating some pressure and earning set pieces. Megan Rapinoe so good with her service. That one falls at the feet of Zerboni. She's unable to connect on it. And then Rapinoe, always exciting, always entertaining. It says, oh, I'm going to beat you twice, and then I'm going to try to find my buddy at that near post. A little bit of sass. And hear about this. This is one of the reasons you have Megan Rapinoe out there. It's for that set piece service, and Alex Morgan connects on it, reads it well, times it, and really bodies off her own defender to beat her to it. And then Davidson steps up when Rapinoe's not in to swing this in, and she floated in some nice ones. Carly Lloyd with the late entry into the match, rises up, times it well, heads it down, but unfortunate for her, it's right at the feet of Pong.
So there we have it. Just the 1 goal for the USA, and these 2 teams will do it again in Cleveland, Ohio on Tuesday. The US 1, China 0. We'll be back after this.